Hello, first graders. It's finally time to make a clay project. We are going to be making clay monsters, and we're going to learn all about scratching and scoring to connect pieces of clay together. Here's what you're going to need. A bag with your name on it. There will be clay inside, one big piece, and then 4 little pieces. And yes, there's going to be a paper towel in there that looks kind of dirty and gross. But all it is a wet paper towel to keep the clay wet while you're working on it, or while you're leaving it with me to work on it next time. You'll also need a clay mat. Now this thing comes with 2 pieces. It's supposed to be glued together. The middle part helps the clay not stick to the table. The colorful part helps the water not leak through. Speaking of water, you are going to need a little cup of water as well to keep the clay wet as you are forming it with your hands. Then you will also have a pointy tool. You can use this to add decorations. A popsicle stick to use as a clay knife. I know it's crazy, but it will cut clay. And lastly, you'll need a nasty looking toothbrush for scratching and scoring. That is how we put clay together. Let's get started. Open your bag of clay and take out all of the clay pieces. You can leave the paper towel in the bag. If we need to, we'll put our clay monsters back in that bag so that it stays wet for next time. First, take the big piece of clay. Right now it's like a big cube. We need to use our hand muscles to squeeze the clay into more of a sphere shape or a ball shape. Now, while you are working on making the piece of clay into a ball, you may want to add some water to it. See how I'm just using 2 fingers at a time? I take 2 fingers, dunk it in the water, and then rub it on my clay. You don't need much, and it starts to smooth out and soften and roll into a ball more easily. Your ball does not have to be perfect. See how I have some cracks in my ball? That's okay. We are still going to continue and turn this ball into a pinch pot. It'll be like a little pot made by pinching. So put your thumb into the clay all the way. Don't go all the way through the other side, but put it in pretty deep. And then continue squeezing the sides with your fingers to make the pot bigger. You might be wondering, why are we making pinch pots again, Mrs. Toth? We did this last time. Well, this pinch pot is going to be the giant mouth of our monster. See? You can close the mouth, open the mouth wider, or just leave it like it is. And we are going to lay it on its side to be a monster mouth. After you have your monster mouth all set up, you need to actually write your name on it with the pointy tool. Carefully write your name on the bottom of the monster's mouth. I'm writing Toth. You will try your best to write your first name. That name is going to help us know which monster is yours later. Now on to decorating this monster. Here are a couple ideas. You can use your pointy tool to poke little polka dots all over your monster. You can also use the other end of the pointy tool to make bigger circles. Oops, I got something weird in my clay there. I'm going to take it out. Kind of fix that up a bit. You can also use the pointy tool to draw, as you know, because you just wrote your name. You can press it in to the clay to make stripes. There are so many things you can do with this pointy tool. Check it out. Now it is time to use the other pieces of clay that you have to add other monster details. Eyeballs, tentacles, claws, teeth. It's time to get creative, guys. To make smaller things, you might want to use your popsicle stick to cut off smaller pieces of clay. I am going to start with 3 eyeballs. So I cut off 3 small pieces of clay with my popsicle stick, and I am forming these pieces into small spheres, small balls to be eyes. There's 1. I'm going to make number 2 and number 3. This is going to be a crazy monster with 3 eyes that point in all different directions. I also use my pointy tool to add more details to the eyes. Now, I am going to put the eyes here, but clay does not work like glue. You cannot just plop those eyes on top and expect them to stick. You have to scratch and score. You are going to use a wet toothbrush to scratch the place where you want to put things. I am putting eyes right here, so I'm scratching that whole area. And then you need to scratch the part you're putting on. So I'm scratching each of these eyeballs before I stick them onto the monster's head. You have to do this for every part of the monster. If you add teeth, you need to scratch and score first. If you add claws or a tail or spikes, then you need to scratch and score the pieces first. Or else, when the clay dries out, everything's just gonna fall off. This is how we glue clay, by scratching and scoring. So I'm gonna be quiet for a while. I'm gonna work on adding some tentacles to my monster. And go ahead and watch and enjoy. Next, I'm going to add teeth, a tongue, spikes, you'll see. Oh my goodness. I seriously like this monster a lot. I wanted you to take a look around the whole thing so that you can see the spikes and the polka dots in the back. I am seriously loving him, and I think he is done. If you are done with your clay monster, then you need to let it dry. Clay needs to dry before it goes in the kiln or the clay oven. If you are not done with your monster yet and it's time to clean up, then you need to carefully put what you have done back into the bag. Very carefully with this, guys. Close the bag so that the clay stays wet and mushy. And also put the extra clay that you might have back in the bag to use for next time. If clay dries out, then you can't change it anymore. So that's why we have the wet paper towel in the bag as well, to keep that clay wet. We're gonna put the whole bag of clay back onto our shelf and pack up our clay tools. So, since my monster is done, it needs to sit out on the shelf and totally dry out for at least a week before he can go in the clay oven. And then we're gonna get to paint him crazy colors. I cannot wait to do that with you. I hope you had a great time. I'm sure you got really messy, and see you next time.